There's a kind of silence that weighs heavy, a silence you learn to carry so early you can't even remember when it began. It's the silence of someone who was taught that to be loved, she had to disappear, little by little, day by day, disappear from her own voice, disappear from her own longing, disappear from her own reflection in the mirror, and every smile you gave to make others happy was another piece of you slipping away, unnoticed. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't, it was like erasing one more part of who you really were, until one day you wake up and you're not even sure who you are anymore. You just feel the weight in your chest, on your back, in your soul, of having been so good, so right, so small. And the worst part is, everyone thought it was beautiful. Everyone applauded. But the living girl inside you never clapped. She only waited. Waited for the day you would be brave enough to come back and find the one you left behind. Maybe that day is today. Since you were little, maybe you felt that love was something you had to earn in silence. It wasn't given just because you existed. It was something you had to win by erasing pieces of yourself, like there was an invisible command carved into your chest. Be good and disappear. And every time you tried to show who you really were, something in the air cracked, like glass breaking slowly. You learned that being loved came at a price, and the price was fading away a little more each day. This command was never spoken, out loud, but it lived in the looks, in the expectations, in the heavy silences. It came from a collective unconscious that crosses generations, pushing people away from their own souls. It's like the psyche carried ancient archetypes, whispering that a good person doesn't bother, doesn't question, doesn't take up too much space, and a heart, full of longing to be whole, learns to split between what it feels and what the world expects. Sometimes you might feel a weight in your chest without knowing why, a deep tiredness from trying to be perfect, from trying to fit into a mold that was never made for your soul. This tension between who you are and who you pretend to be creates a silent crack, a break between your living anima and the persona you had to wear, and every time you smiled when you wanted to cry, the wound inside you sank a little deeper. In that forced dance between fake joy and hidden sadness, something about your voice was being smothered. You might have thought it was just weakness, or being too sensitive, or just being dramatic, but no. It was your living part screaming not to disappear. That pain isn't an invention or a flaw. It's the clash between the inner opposites, trying to survive in a world that only values one side of your soul. The transcendent function, the one that could heal you from within, stayed locked in a dark room, waiting to be called. I know sometimes you feel like there's something wrong with you, like you failed at a secret task everyone else understands. But that feeling isn't your fault. It's the echo of ancient symbols, whispering through your story that being good means not being. And if you listen to that echo for too long, you start to wonder if there's anything whole left inside to save. The truth is, there is. In the deepest place of your psyche, beneath the ruins of guilt and fear, your full voice is still alive. Individuation, this journey of gathering the lost pieces, starts when you dare to look at that voice without shame. When you realize the persona you used to survive isn't your final truth. Behind the mask, your soul never stopped waiting to be seen. It's not easy to break the invisible command. It's not easy to say, "I exist," after years of saying, "I obey." But I'm here to remind you, the shadow that carries your pain also carries your strength. Carl Jung said, "We only become whole when we stop running from what lives inside." And you don't have to disappear to deserve love anymore. You just have to be. And being, I promise you, is already more than enough. There's a moment when it all begins, and we barely notice. A moment when the little child inside you first understood that being whole could be dangerous. It didn't come with words or explanations. It came with a look of disapproval, a hand that pulled away, a sudden coldness where there once was warmth, and in that heavy silence, you learned that to stay loved, you had to hide parts of who you were. The psyche, still so small, didn't know it was making a sacrifice. It only knew it had to survive. So it started to build masks, hiding the impulses that weren't welcome inside the personal unconscious, like someone tucking away treasures in secret boxes just to keep the most important love in the world. Each piece hidden became a mark, a slow crack growing inside you, shaping silent complexes you couldn't yet name. Maybe you felt that it was wrong to feel anger, or sadness, or even to say no. Maybe you heard, without anyone ever saying it, that your emotions were too much, that your desires were dangerous. Wanting so badly to be accepted, you began swallowing those living parts, pushing into the shadow, what most needed holding. The anima, that soul of movement and longing, was wrapped in the tight costume of the persona, the version of you they allowed to exist. The shadow, as Carl Jung said, is the hidden part of the self we bury just to keep belonging. But every swallowed emotion, every denied impulse, planted a living symbol of unspoken pain deep inside you, as if your own story was being written in letters too, small for the surface to read. And there, in the depths of your soul, love and fear got tangled in ways you could no longer separate. It wasn't cowardice, it wasn't weakness, it was survival. A child doesn't choose loyalty. She just knows she needs it to stay alive. So you agreed to silence your truth in exchange. For a smile. You agreed to disappear a little more each day to make sure you were still seen, even if it was only the surface version they said they loved. And every part of you that was pushed down in childhood is still alive, still waiting to be found. The cruelest thing is, the shame you feel today wasn't born because you failed. It was born because back then, you did exactly what you had to do to survive. That shame is the price of having been too faithful to invisible rules. But you don't have to keep paying that price anymore, because what was hidden in the shadow isn't broken, it's life, waiting to breathe again. And listen, there's nothing wrong with you. There never was. Everything that was hidden, your wants, your impulses, your fearless joy, still exists. Healing begins when you look inside and realize, I was never wrong. I was just taught to disappear, and now little by little I can come back. You learned early on that being good meant being invisible, and every time you gave up a piece of yourself, someone smiled and told you how special you were. It felt like receiving a medal for burying your own heart. But along with that, honor came. A bitter taste you couldn't quite explain. Deep down, a part of you knew you were being praised for disappearing. And even in your small body, you could feel the weight of it. An honor that didn't nourish you. It slowly ate you away. The psyche, trying to survive, built silent complexes around this paradox. On one side, the archetype of the perfect daughter, gentle, understanding, tireless. On the other, the wounded anima, full of stifled life, twisting itself not to disappear completely. And every compliment you received was like a quiet reminder that, to be loved, you had to keep erasing yourself. The transcendent, function, the one that could have united your inner opposites, stayed trapped, unable to breathe. Maybe you even learned to take pride in how much you could endure in silence. Maybe you believed that swallowing your pain was a sign of strength, of maturity. But behind that mask, the persona built to please, there was a burning anger, alive and waiting for a place where it could exist without being punished. And without space to come out, that anger turned into guilt, into self-punishment, into this inner conflict you still carry in your chest. The shadow, as Carl Jung taught, is the space where we push everything the world didn't want to see in us. But by pushing away your rightful anger, you also pushed away your courage, your strength, your right to be whole. Every hidden symbol in your story, every time you said, "It's okay," when you wanted to scream no, carries the mark of this paradox, being rewarded for disappearing. It's cruel, I know, because the more you obeyed, the further you drifted from yourself. And the further you drifted, the more you were praised. The psyche, unable to hold itself together, learned to survive broken, thinking that was what strength meant. But true strength was never about disappearing to fit into someone else's love. True strength was always the part you had to hide just to stay alive. It's not too late to find those lost pieces. It's not too late to give space to the anger that only ever wanted to protect you. It's not too late to look at your own reflection and say, I see you, I feel your pain, and I won't ever ask you to disappear again. Integrating the shadow isn't about destroying what you created to survive. It's about gently embracing everything you had to be, and everything you still are underneath it all. The way back is slow and beautiful. You don't have to break everything at once. Just one step, one small act of loyalty to yourself is enough. The psyche knows how to heal when we stop demanding that it disappear. And in this way home, every forgotten part of you still remembers how to find the light. There's a moment in childhood when we stop being who we are and start becoming who they expect us to be. It's not a conscious choice. It's the fear of losing the love that holds our whole world together. So you began creating masks. The daughter who never complains, the girl who understands everything, the one who always knows how to smile. At first, those masks were just protective clothing, but little by little, they became skin. And every time you put one on, you buried a piece of your own soul. These masks, in Carl Jung's psychology, are called the persona. They're necessary creations to survive in a world that doesn't welcome all that we are. But when the persona sticks too tightly to the skin, it starts to create complexes, little islands of hidden pain inside the personal unconscious, where the psyche gets trapped, spinning in circles, trying to be perfect all the time just to deserve to exist. And in the middle of all that effort, your living soul, your anima, grows smaller and smaller, hiding in the parts of you you no longer show. Sometimes you feel you have to be strong all the time, even when everything inside you is falling apart. Sometimes you feel you have to be everyone else's piece, even when your chest is a silent battlefield. These demands didn't come from nowhere. They are living symbols of your fight to belong, to stay loved, even if the price was abandoning yourself. The problem is, the psyche can't survive on persona alone. At some point, what was hidden starts knocking on the door. The emotions you pushed away, the anger, the fear, the sadness, come back like waves, like screams the body can no longer silence. And then the fear of the unknown appears. Who am I without my masks? Who am I without the roles I learned to perform so perfectly? It's normal to be afraid. It's normal to want to cling to the masks, because they protected you from pains too heavy to carry back then. But it's also deeply human to want to come home to the self you had to abandon long ago. Integrating the shadow means embracing those exiled parts without anger or shame. It means realizing that even what was repressed was once an act of love. There's no rush on this path. Every mask you let fall doesn't reveal weakness. It reveals enormous courage. The courage to look inward and realize you deserve to be whole. You don't have to earn love by disappearing. You don't have to fit into molds that broke your heart just to shape you. The process can be frightening, but it's also beautiful. Because behind the persona, your real truth is still breathing. And the good news is, you don't have to walk this path alone. Your own body, your own soul, already know the way back. They know how to guide you through. Your inner symbols, the broken bridges, the memories that still hold the keys to your wholeness. Just one small step at a time. One tender look inside. One quiet whisper, I'm here, and I won't abandon you anymore. Maybe you once felt a rage so big inside you that it seemed wrong just to exist. A fury that had no place in polite smiles or well-behaved words. So, to avoid losing the love that held your world together, you learned to silence that revolt. You learned to hide it, to smother it, to turn it into something else. Shame, sadness, self-blame. As if feeling was an unforgivable mistake. As if being alive was a threat. That silenced anger was pushed deep into the shadow. Carl Jung said that what we repress doesn't disappear. It hides in the depths of the psyche, waiting to be seen. The anger, once a rightful impulse of protection, became a painful complex, a weight without a name that you carry without fully knowing why. Because the unconscious never forgets. Every emotion you were forced to swallow lives on inside. You, pulsing like a symbol, still asking to be held. Maybe you were taught to blame yourself for feeling. Maybe you believed good girls don't get mad, don't push back, don't say no. And that belief shaped your inner opposites. On one side, the perfect, controlled persona. On the other, the suffocated anima, full of compressed life. That hidden tension creates inner conflict, creates sadness without a clear cause, creates a heaviness that sits on your chest without words. But anger was never your enemy. Anger was the force that wanted to protect you. It was life itself saying, "This hurts. This is unfair. I deserve more." And even if you learned to lock that voice away, it never left you. Repression doesn't kill what's alive. It only puts it to sleep. It only twists it into unnamed pain. Integrating the shadow means recognizing that even your revolt was an act of self-love. Your soul was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to save you. Looking at these hidden parts of yourself with tenderness is how you start to undo the knot of shame. It's how you begin to give your psyche back the right to feel, to defend itself, to exist fully, without apology. If today you feel sadness without knowing where it comes from, it might be that silenced anger asking to be heard, not as a storm that destroys, but as a fire that warms, that lights the way back to life. You don't have to be afraid of yourself. Inside your own chest, there is enough strength to walk through this darkness. And I'm here to remind you, your anger is not shame. Your pain is not a flaw. Your soul is not wrong. There is a living light inside you, hidden but whole. And every step you take inward is a step toward bringing that light home again. There's a voice inside you that never died, even after so much silence, so many masks, so many buried pieces. That voice is still pulsing. It's small, sometimes almost imperceptible, but it's there, waiting for you to come closer, slowly, without pressure, without demands, like someone approaching a scared child, with open hands, with gentle eyes, with the respect of someone who knows that finding her again hurts, but also heals. At the deepest part of the psyche, among the hidden parts of the self, lives that lost daughter, the anima that once had to hide just to survive. She carries not only the pain, but also the forgotten joy, the light that the world could never truly extinguish. The inner journey begins when you stop trying to fix this girl and start, simply, to listen, without asking her to be strong, without asking her to be different. Carl Jung said the transcendent function is born from the meeting of inner opposites. And that's what happens when you listen to your silenced voice. The self who obeyed and the self who resisted start to see each other, start to recognize each other, and slowly begin to unite, not to erase the pain of the past, but to integrate it as part of your living story. Every swallowed tear, every silenced scream, every forgotten dream holds a symbol, the symbol of the self, waiting to bloom. It's natural to feel fear along this path, natural to doubt whether that voice is still there, natural to wonder if it's too late. But the psyche holds a memory that time can't erase. Every part of you that was exiled still knows the way home. Sometimes, all it needs is a true listening. A small gesture that says, "I see you, and I won't ask you to disappear ever again." The return of the lost daughter doesn't happen in a single day or in one big revelation. It happens in small acts of loyalty to yourself. In the moment you choose to say what you feel instead of smiling out of obligation. In the moment you honor a simple desire without apologizing for it. Every small act of truth is a piece of your soul coming back to life. And there's no wrong way to walk this path. There's no perfect way to return to yourself. There's only the way you build with respect, with love, with patience. Because the girl you once had to forget never forgot you. And now she waits, deep within your psyche, for the embrace that will breathe new life into your story. If today you feel a calling, even a fragile, timid one, listen. Maybe it's your own voice, the one that never died, asking to come home. And within that calling lives everything you always were. For a long time, being good meant forgetting yourself. It meant molding yourself, silencing yourself, shrinking, just to fit into the love that was available. It was a beautiful loyalty, even if painful, because it was born from the purest desire to be loved. But now, maybe for the first time, you can rewrite that story. You can learn that being good isn't about disappearing. It's about listening to yourself. It's about being loyal to the voice that was once silenced and now longs to live without fear. The psyche, with its ancient wisdom, never gave up on you. Carl Jung said that individuation is the path back to oneself, the reunion with the self, that living image of wholeness that has always lived inside us. True loyalty begins when you dare to honor that self instead of chasing an ideal that was never really yours. When you realize you no longer have to choose between love and truth, between belonging and freedom. Integrating the shadow means this: stopping the war against yourself. It means seeing that the girl who obeyed and the woman who now wants to bloom are not enemies. They are parts of the same being, trying to come home to each other. Every step you take toward your own soul is a reconciliation of your inner opposites. It's a quiet act of courage. It's a declaration of love to the life still beating inside every forgotten corner of you. This new loyalty doesn't demand that you break everything at once. It asks for small gestures, saying yes when your heart says yes, saying no when your heart says no. It asks you to embrace the living anima that survived inside you, even when survival seemed impossible. Every act of loyalty to yourself is a symbolic offering to the self. It's the deepest kind of prayer the psyche knows. It might feel scary at first. It might feel lonely, but little by little, this choice will grow roots inside you. It will begin healing old cracks. It will transform the soil of your story into fertile ground, where your soul can grow without ever needing to apologize for existing. Because now, you don't have to disappear to be good. Now, being good means being whole. And yes, the world might be confused by this new version of you. It might take time for others to understand, but your soul will recognize it. It will breathe easier. It will remember who it always was. Because truth carries a song we never truly forget. And when you start living in harmony with that song, everything else with time finds its rightful place. So if today you feel even a small longing to come back to yourself, even if it scares you, know this: it's life calling you. It's the self inside you saying, it's safe to be who you are. And maybe that's the greatest loyalty you could ever offer yourself.